What is up, everybody? I'm Caleb Ochoa, also known as NFL Kid 22, and this is Betting NFL week number 13. And now, as always, I have here with me my co-host, Derek Wesley, also known as DWeezy. What's going on, man? Can you hear me? Is it still delayed? Okay. We're having some technical issues here. Let me see. Let's see what's going on. Yeah. Okay. Having some issues. Derek cannot hear. Yeah, it's a little laggy right now. Yeah, I don't know. But that's okay. We'll try to get through um the show real quick. We're just having some issues. All right. But yeah, we'll work out these issues and we'll get back to the show. As always, I had a great week. If you're joining us right now, you're joining at a great time because I am an unbelievable hot streak. 4 winning weeks in a row. It's just been great. It's been great. It's been great betting for me. If you've been going with my bets, you've been winning a lot of money because that's all we try to do on this show is win you guys money. That's the goal of the show. And if you've been watching, we've been accomplishing that. At least I have with my bets, and if you've been betting with my picks, um, been quite successful in the past 4 weeks. Um, but yeah, it's been an unprecedented hot streak for me. But as always, we will recap what happened in week number 12 overall, as we always do, before we get into our 5 best bets of the week. And we'll start off with what happened. The favorites 9-4 straight up, 7-5-1 against the spread. Home teams, horrible week for the home teams. 4-9 straight up, 5-7-1 against the spread, and it's been like that all season long for the home teams. There really has been no home field advantage this season. If you've been betting, whether you've been betting straight up or against the spread, they've been losing. Road teams have been winning, which is pretty crazy. Overs, unders, a lot of overs hit this weekend. 10 overs, 3 unders. Big discrepancy there. A lot of overs have been hitting more recently. Early in the year, we saw a lot of unders. Now, as we go through the season, a lot of overs have been hitting. Favorites overall 123, 56 straight up, 93, 81, and 5 against the spread. So obviously favorites are hitting there. Home teams, again, like I said, not been doing well. 92 and 87 straight up. Pretty even, almost even there, but extremely bad against the spread. 81, 93, and 5. Terrible record for the home teams. Road teams and road dogs specifically have been pretty successful overall this season. And the over and unders, 94 overs, 82 unders. It's been a consistent uptick for the overs here as we get later in the season. And I think that will continue to be the case. I think you should be betting more overs and unders. A lot of points been scoring and scored lately. A lot of offenses, starting to get going. MVP races and different things like that have been um, going on. So definitely offenses are going great right now. So bet the overs, bet the overs. But like I said, my record awesome this week. I went 4-1, 15-5 over the past 4 weeks. So I've been pretty fantastic. So been going, like I said, been going with my bets. You've been winning some money. Well, we'll bring back Derek. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I think we're all good now. A few technical difficulties and, kind of how my week turned out. But it's good that y'all got to hear from my man. You rather hear from the hot hand than the one, that's taking them L's. So definitely good to give people good news as we're on the brink of the holiday season.
Absolutely, and we'll be making you a lot of money so you guys will have money in your pocket and be able to spend it throughout the holidays. We know you're spending on Christmas gifts and all the Thanksgiving food you're about to eat tomorrow. So a lot of money been spending, but we can put money back into your pocket with our picks. Um, like my picks that I did this past weekend, which one of my best picks was the Lions -7.5 at the Colts. I called it last week that this was going to be my best pick of the week. And the Lions just keep on covering the spreads. I mean, with relatively ease, even though the spreads have been pretty large. It just absolutely destroyed inferior opponents, especially ones from the AFC South, like the Texans and the Jags, like the Jags, the Titans, and the Colts. All blowout wins there. This one wasn't so flashy. A very efficient game for them. The Lions were able to shut down Jonathan Taylor, their biggest weapon, and held them to 6 points. The Lions have held their opponents to 6 points the last 2 weeks, and honestly, the Lions are the best bet going right now, especially against teams that are not very good. You know that they're going to blow out that team, so no matter what the spread is, it might be big, but don't fear that. Keep betting it, putting your money on the Lions because they will definitely pay off for you.
Yeah, the Lions have definitely been, one of the hottest teams this season by far. Even in the prop markets, it's something I've talked about week to week, being able to cash a few times on players like Amon St. Brown, Jameer Gibbs, I believe. Um, but just throughout the course of this season, one that pops in mind, Sam Laporta, uh, there's just too many weapons on that offense for you to be able to shut everyone down. And that's what we've seen over the course of the season because one player having success hasn't stifled the success of other players, even in that game. There was a lot of questions surrounding this offense and how would it behave with this two running back system. And I mean, I don't think you could hope for anything better out of this offense the way things have been clicking. You get major production out of your top two wide receivers, out of your tight end, out of both your running backs. You got a quarterback that has uh, been very not only safe but wise with the ball. And when you put all those things together, uh, you don't need the best defense out there, but Detroit Lions have been able to put out a quality defense. And it makes sense that this is a team that we see covering a lot, even on some of these bigger spreads because of the matchup. And a team I think a lot of people are going to look to tail, up into the playoffs and maybe deep into a playoff run. This might be the season that we finally see the Detroit Lions in the Super Bowl.
Maybe. How did your week go?
Coming off a 1-4 week, not what you want to see, but can say, I was happy with the one win I did have. I was telling people about Cooper Cup last week. Anytime you can find this man at plus money, it's almost a necessary play. Um, similar how I've talked about I just mentioned them, but you could reference multiple players with Detroit Lions offense where you've seen them variety of times, whether it be Jameer Gibbs, Amon St. Brown, at plus money in their anytime TD props. And this is exactly what we saw last week with Cooper Cup. Was able to get him at plus 120, a nice, juicy number. And, between the target shares and just the way he's utilized within that offense. Touchdown came late in the game, probably didn't have much outcome on the game, but he's still a major threat to reach the end zone regardless of the scenario, whether it be garbage time or not. And it was basically an easy cash.
All right. Yeah, I talked about my good picks. Now I got to talk about my one bad pick that I had this week, and that was the Eagles at the Rams +3. This was obviously my only loss of the week. I knew Saquon Barkley was going to play well, going to do his thing, but I don't think anybody expected that performance. That was even for him, like that was unbelievable performance. Over 300 total yards, 2 touchdowns. On top of that, you have AJ Brown going for over 100 yards and a touchdown. So just every which way they could, the Eagles offense could do it. They were putting it to the Rams defense. Stafford, he got to his guys. I mean, he got to Cooper, got it to Puka, but even that was not enough to keep up with this Philly offense. I keep betting against the Eagles, and they keep proving me wrong as they continue to roll with their 7th straight win. So Eagles are also one of the hottest bets in the league as well. They're covering spreads like crazy. It's just a bad bet by me.
Yeah, this past week, multiple losses to pick from. But I think, one I kind of got that takes the cake. Going back to that Thursday night play, had Jameis Winston throw an interception, which I was able to get, but being in a 2-leg parlay like it was, still needed to cover the spread. And because of the way the points had been distributed throughout the night, I found myself in a lose-lose situation there towards the end of the game because I needed the Steelers to cover 3.5, which didn't occur. And even if they had been able to reach the end zone on their final possession, they still wouldn't have covered that spread. And, felt good at a time when I saw, the interception happen and, the possibility was still on the board, but it did not last, just like how we saw that snow blow in for that game, which, even though I found myself on the losing side of the bet, you always enjoy a good snow football game. I mean, I can't honestly remember the last time I literally looked at a field goal post and went, "Where's the ball?" So it makes every play exciting. No telling what you might see.
Yeah, I always love watching those games. It's always cool to see weather games where there's snowing or hard, or just sloppy rain or something like that. It's good old football weather. Love to see it.
And the crazy thing about it all, we saw a comeback not only in the snow, but utilizing the pass game more than the run game, which, I mean, hey, they got the job done. So it's hard to say, they were stupid for it. But it's just, again, not what you would expect in one of those crazy scenarios that comes about.
All right. Before we get into our bets of the week, if you guys can hit the like button on this video, you can subscribe to the channel if you have not already. And if you really want to support us, you can join Ko-Fi or Coffee, however you want to say it. The link is in the description down below. Join whichever tier suits you. Great perks for that. But we just really appreciate you guys for tuning in and watching as we try to win you some money, which we're about to do right now as we get to our 5 best bets of the week. And since I'm such on a hot streak, I gotta start it off again because I'm just feeling so antsy to win some more money. And my first bet will be the Cardinals at the Vikings. Vikings are given 3.5. I'm going to lay the points with the Vikings because they are coming off a big win in overtime over the divisional rival Bears. And the Cardinals are also coming off a divisional rival loss where they only scored 6 points, which snapped their 4-game winning streak, and which will start a losing streak for them as they will get beat by the Vikings this weekend. Kyler Murray was sacked a bunch against the Seahawks, and then I expect him that pressure to get to him by the Vikings pass rush as their offensive line looked pretty weak in this past week. The um, the hook scares me a little bit at 3.5. I would like it more at a 3, or but I think the Vikings with how they're playing, and I think they can cover by 4 points. But it does scare me just a little bit. But I'm confident that they can cover um, against the Cardinals.
Yeah, this is a matchup, where I definitely like the Vikings in their situation. The hook does give a little cause for concern at the, -3.5. Um, but I think this will be a question: can the Cardinals offense keep up with what we've seen out of the Minnesota Vikings offense this year? Um, I think a lot of I think we expected this offense to be more reliant on Justin Jefferson, which hasn't been the case, and has allowed him to, you know, operate not necessarily in a freer role, but the it makes it more challenging on the defense knowing, okay, not every play is going to be going to Justin Jefferson. And at the same time, they don't shy away from utilizing the weapon that he is out on the field. Um, so I definitely, one of the hotter teams definitely building up for an interesting race in the NFC North as we see that division finish the season out with two of the hottest teams battling it out between the Vikings and Detroit Lions. Um, so yeah, I definitely think the Vikings can cover in this matchup. Um, Probably lean to the over on the game total, which I believe is sitting around 44 and a half. Wouldn't be shocked if we see the Vikings potentially put up 30 points in this game. Now
Yeah,
moving into my first play for this week, we got to go to Turkey Day. We got Thanksgiving football. Was talking about it earlier already. One of the hottest offenses out there, and I'm going to the Detroit Lions and Jameson Williams on his over 52.5 receiving yards. Um, multi-headed offense. It's going to be a challenge for any defense to try and shut down any one specific player. And we've seen Williams used as a legitimate deep threat in this offense um, multiple times this season in games. You see him eclipse 100 yards in the game. That doesn't necessarily mean that, he had 7, 8 receptions in the game. He's a player that could potentially do cover that, cover this number for the prop and even eclipse 100 yards. On just a handful of catches. So seeing this number sitting at 52.5, we've seen multiple times in the past few weeks him get uh, 5 receptions at least in a couple games. So he's definitely getting a nice target share. And we're talking about a player that he could he could get past his number with 3 receptions, averaging around 20 yards, which isn't insane with what we've seen out of him so far this season.
yeah. As for the overall game, obviously, like I said, Lions one of the best bets going right now. The only thing that keeps me away from this game is that it is a divisional game. A lot of crazy things happen, and it's a divisional game on Thanksgiving. A lot of crazy things can where Lions don't really play well on Thanksgiving, and just go by the history of the Lions. Yes, it's a different team, but that doesn't mean they can't get got by the Bears, and that's what makes me stay away from the spread on this one. Um, but for my next bet, I got the Seahawks -1.5 at the New York Jets. Yes, I am taking the Seahawks once again. They've been a very popular bet for me. But how can I not? I mean, they just coming off a great win against the Cardinals. Now facing a disastrous Jets team. Um, this is a surprisingly small spread, considering how bad the Jets are. I thought the spread would be a lot bigger than this. Jets are bottom 5 in points scored, bottom 5 rushing team. So I just don't think, and then Rodgers just hasn't looked good at all this season. Um, so they can't really exploit Seattle's weakness, which has been their defense, which has been you know bad at times throughout the season. I just don't think they have the offense right now to even exploit that. Um, but they obviously they look better in this last game. They held the Cardinals to 6 points, and Geno will do his thing. I mean, he has the he's second in passing in the league. He's going to lead this offense against the Jets, and they're going to do what they do. And yeah, I just don't see how they can't cover up just a small 1.5 point spread against a very bad Jets team who is just 1-7 against the spread in the last 8 games. So yeah, I love the Seahawks once again.
And I'm right there with you as far as spread aspect in this game. Currently, where I'm looking, I'm seeing 2.5, but even still, I feel that at least 3 would be called for in this matchup. Seahawks have just been that much of a better team than the New York Jets. They may, Jets might not be the worst team in the no, they may be the worst team in the league as far as record, but they certainly are playing like it, and there's no indications to see any that anything's going to be turning around anytime soon. Um, Even starting to hear rumblings of at what point in time do we potentially see Aaron Rodgers getting benched? Because it's been that bad for the Jets, so far this season. So you know, yes, it's a road game for the Seahawks, flying, west to east coast. Um, but even still, I feel like that, spread should be at least 3, if not minus 3.5. So, talking about Seattle Seahawks to win this game outright, basically, definitely would be back in Seattle in this matchup. As I'm going into my next play, gotta stick with Turkey Day. Hopefully, this defense will be awful out there. Maybe a little sleepy, and we see Jaden Reed for the Green Bay Packers go over his alternative rushing prop 61 or over 60.5 yards. In this matchup, we're going to be seeing, I don't know if it's official, but I do know Romeo Doubs for the Green Bay Packers has been in concussion protocol. And I think it's highly unlikely we see him suit up for this game in any way, thus increasing target share and things of that nature when we get into some of the other pieces of the Green Bay offense. Because over the course of the season, that's been the real challenge if you've been trying to target any of the props for the receivers in Green Bay. Isn't that it's not a lack of talent or a lack of production. It's more, they got 3-4 guys that are quality wide receivers, and it's a question of who's going to get the ball that week, more or less. And so when you talk about removing one of those potential pieces, definitely like this situation more, going to the alternate number, pushing it up just a little bit to get to that plus money at plus 114. But this is another player that carries potential deep play threat, and the Green Bay offense has shown a consistency in taking not deep pass threats throughout the game. Yes, they'll work the ball underneath, which again, you start trying to rack up those yards towards this over for this prop, and the potential for a deep pass, 20 plus yards, definitely puts a number like 60.5 in jeopardy if you're able to break off some of those chunk plays that we've seen Green Bay do before.
All right. Another Turkey Day game prop for you guys. But for my next bet, I got the LA Chargers -1 at the Atlanta Falcons. Falcons coming off a bye after a 2-game losing streak. The latest one getting blown out by the Broncos, where they scored just 6 points. Kirk Cousins has not been playing well in recent weeks. Falcons 3-3 straight up at home, so not too good. Their Chargers 2-0 straight up going on an Eastern time zone, so they don't have a problem driving across to the East Coast. So I don't think it's really going to be an issue for them going to Atlanta. Chargers want to bounce back after that rough loss to the Ravens on Monday night. But just remember, he's been playing well in recent weeks. So I believe he's ready to get it back going for them. Chargers 4 uh, I think it's 4-1 against the spread last 5 games, 7-3 and 1 overall for this season. So they've been very good against the spread this season. So I like them to cover just a small 1 point spread against a Falcons team that is on the downtrend right now.
Yeah, this is one that I'm really shocked by. I know we talked about those other couple games. The spreads just feeling off, but this is, I mean, yes, the Chargers didn't look too impressive against the Baltimore Ravens this
Yeah, but it's
past
the
week.
Ravens. I mean, they're pretty
Yeah,
damn good. I mean,
exactly. You are not going to put the Falcons in the same breath or sentence as you would the Baltimore Ravens. Yes, the Ravens defense has struggled more in the past game. But yeah, there was, it was an ugly game. And, we're talking about a Chargers team that does lean more towards the run game, which could have been a potential factor. But we're also talking about an Atlanta Falcons defense that fails to get to the quarterback. And so there is room for the passing game of the Chargers to have success in this game. And one thing pointing out, drops have been a big issue for Quentin Johnson so far this season, and those are the types of plays that don't show up on the stat sheet in the way you might think. Because when you talk about offense moving, and it's not necessarily a bad play, just a bad execution. Um, it doesn't necessarily reflect the same as you start to handicap some of these betting markets. So, the fact that we are talking about one of the better defenses in the league, a top 5 defense, basically, against this Atlanta Falcons offense, I don't think there's, any shot that the Falcons keep this game close. Something I would even potentially look at if they got the numbers up would be a first half score or a first half spread. Um, and if I'm, basically to win outright, uh, you know, minus half a point. So, not a straight pick 'em, but where I'm looking, you can get the Chargers at plus 105, to basically win outright in the first half. And I'm going to be jumping on that right now because, you know,
I,
even,
is that our first live bet?
I mean, it may not be the first, but, we tell the people all the time, when you see a number that you feel is wrong, you got to jump on it. And when I saw this, spread at, -1, I was already staring at the full game money line, minus 120, you know, not completely out of my range. Don't mind paying for a little bit of juice in a situation like this where, just feel the numbers downright wrong. And if anything, we're going to see that spread get larger and the odds get larger as we get towards the end of the week. So you got to jump on it now. And, just, the thought came to me, I don't expect this offense for the Falcons to be able to do much against the Chargers defense. First half spread, plus 105. Jump on it now while you can. All right.
Yeah.
Now to get into my actual plays for the week. Going to another hot offense out there, as we got, you just heard me talking about the Ravens. Well, we're going to see the Philadelphia Eagles taking on the Ravens this week. I'm going to A.J. Brown in the anytime touchdown mark, plus 120. Oh, I think you lost me.
No, you're just lagging a little bit. Now I think we lost you.
Okay, so yeah, as I said, A.J. Brown plus 120. Gonna be attacking, a Baltimore defense that has been struggling in the past game. And with, we might see Devontae Smith back for this game, unsure of his status, but we're still talking about a defense that's going to have to severely focus on Saquon Barkley. If you don't shut this, it's hard to say shut him down. If you don't slow him down, it's a guaranteed loss. Yeah. I don't care who you put on the other side of the ball right now. If you can't, slow down Saquon, you're losing that game. Any player that goes out there, regardless of their position, and is racking up 200, 300 yards a game, you're losing against that guy. It's that plain and simple. So I do believe there's going to be heavy focus put towards the run game, putting more liability and pressure on this struggling pass defense of the Ravens. And, A.J. Brown, we've seen him hurt a little bit this season. We've seen the offense falter. You know, maybe a player that we more typically see at a minus number, getting him at plus 120 right now.
All right. For my fourth bet of the week, I got the Steelers +3 at the Cincinnati Bengals. Despite how well Joe Burrow and the Bengals have been playing, they continue to lose games, and they lose largely because that defense is quite awful. Um, but I don't believe they will be able to get it going against the Steelers defense, which has kept the majority of their opponents under 20 points. That's just how the Steelers team plays. They play good defense. They make these games really ugly, and they basically make every game come down to the final possession of the game. And I don't see any reason why this game would be any different. I'm just, betting that the Steelers, with getting 3 points, will be on the winning side of this bet. Steelers 5-1 against the spread of the last 6 games, 8-3 overall on the season. Bengals just 1-4 against the spread at home, and again, home field advantage don't mean much this season. So I like the road team because that's the trends, and that's just how Steelers been playing. So I like them getting 3 points.
Yeah, I'm attacking this same game from the prop markets because, as you said, Cincinnati has had a horrible defense all season. And that's right where I'm going to attack them with George Pickens over 74.5 receiving yards in this game. Another player that has not only shown deep threat capability and usage within the offense, but also able to gather target shares and rack up multiple receptions in a game. And, against this, struggling defense, because even in a number of the games where we've seen the Bengals win, we saw that defense give up a lot of points, regardless of who was on the other side of the ball. Hell, we saw a Carolina Panthers, Andy Dalton led offense score a good amount of points against the Bengals earlier this season. And look, that's it. I'm looking to target that secondary group for the Bengals with, George Pickens getting over 74.5 receiving yards in this game.
All right. For my final bet of the week, I got the Titans +6 at the Commanders. The Commanders are in a 3-game losing streak coming into this game, most recently losing to my Dallas Cowboys. And if you can lose to my Cowboys, you can lose to anybody in this league because we are not good. And they lost to us. Jaden Daniels has been sacked a lot during this losing streak as he tries to recover from that rib injury that he had. Titans, on the other hand, got a big upset win against Texans last week. Will Levis did play better in that game, but it was really Tony Pollard who pretty much ran all over them. And even the Cowboys were able to run a little bit, for like Rico Gallo, I think had over like 80 some yards in the game, which by the Cowboy standards of running the ball, that he might as well ran for 200, because that's just how bad our running game has been. So to have even just a little bit of run game on the Commanders, that shows you how bad their run defense has been. And that's just the thing with the Dan Quinn defense. It can be run on, and if Tony Pollard is going to lead this Titans offense, then that can definitely exploit the weakness in Dan Quinn's defense. The Titans may not win this game, but you're getting 6 points in this game. I definitely think with how bad the Commanders have been playing, that they can keep it at least close.
Yeah, on paper, I think, this almost screams that this is a get right game. But when you start to look at things like the running back situation for the Commanders is up in question, as we've seen injury be a concern for, I believe, Austin Eckler is going to be out. I know Brian Robertson's been banged up past couple of weeks. Um, so that's going to put more pressure on Jaden Daniels and more necessity for him to perform well. And as you mentioned, we've seen a lot of sacks and maybe not statistical pressures, but we've seen a lot of pressure in the backfield on Jaden Daniels throughout this season. And also we've seen a lot less rushing yards and him scrambling from that pocket, which does raise some questions. Is this, more a strategical thing, more not, injury concern? But hey, if we're going to make the playoffs, we need you to not be racking up all these hits throughout the course of the game. So, I definitely think, there's some room for the Titans to be able to take advantage of that. Now, a stat that, well, not a stat, but something I did want to look into. Basically, the possibility of a little parlay, but Will Levis to throw a pick in the money line for the Washington Commanders.
That's almost a certain.
Well, exactly. And so if you can get that at plus money, I'd almost be willing to come back on the other side and jump on the Tennessee Titans money line at plus 200 and just lock up a little bit of profit on both sides, regardless of the outcome. Because I feel that, we're talking probably minus 200, minus 250 for Levis to throw a pick. And so we're talking minus, 240 currently with the money line for the Commanders. You might be able to get that around plus money. You might have to, play with it a little bit. But maybe take the spread on, if you're feeling a little frisky. But I just, I think there's some definite concerns about the Commanders in this matchup. Now, going to my final play on the week. I was talking about him earlier. He is my only cash from last week. Going back to Cooper Kupp because they still got him at plus money. Now, I've said it, multiple times this season, multiple weeks. If the man's at plus money, you got to play him. It's just that simple. He's going to find the end zone. If I'm not mistaken, his touchdown last week came literally, in garbage time late in the game. Had no real outcome whatsoever on the game. He still got into that end zone. And they're going to put it at plus money. I got to play it, even if it's only at even money in this matchup. And, that's where I'm going. Most, got to stick to my guns. As I mentioned before, there players like this, similar to how I was talking about A.J. Brown, when you find them at plus money, it doesn't matter if you played them 6, 7, 8 times. If it's cashing, it's cashing. And you stick with what works. And Cooper's been good to me, so I'm going to jump back on this train this week with Cooper Kupp anytime TD at even money.
All right. That is our bets of the week. Hopefully you guys win your bets out there. Safe betting. Only bet what you guys can afford to lose. And that will be the show. And you can tell everybody where they can find you, DWeezy.
Yes, the lovely people can reach me at Backyard Action Media here on YouTube and at the Yard Bets on Twitter and at BAM Sports on Blue Sky.
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter /checks on at NFL Camp 22. You can find me on this channel on Friday at 3 o'clock. Good Friends, Better Rifles with my co-host Ferris McDonough. Talking Cowboys, talking Giants, and obviously we'll be talking about the Cowboys-Giants game here coming up on Thanksgiving, going into detail about that game, and we have a lot of fun going at each other's teams.
It's the matchup everybody wanted. Tommy Cutlass versus Cooper Rush.
Well, Tommy Cutlass not playing.
He's officially out? Oh, the plot thickens.
Well, he didn't take the plane with the team, so it's probably going to be Drew Lock, which makes it probably a more interesting game. We'll see what happens there. So yeah, tune in to see our thoughts on that game. We'll be having a lot of fun, and tune in next week because we'll be doing the same thing. Next week we'll be going through our 5 bets of the week, and we will be making you guys a lot of money because, like I said, I've been hot and I continue to be hot. So yeah, tune in next week. Like I always say, let's get ready to make that money.